right. Thank you. Nice lady. What's going on, everybody? That was my. If you've tapped in before, I live in an apartment complex, and typically when I get down here in this little communal area in the mornings, the cleaner's still doing her thing. And she has recognized that I like to kind of bunker myself into this little room here and keep the doors closed. Hopefully this is coming through. I don't know this audio, bro. Never know. I always want to. Okay, there is somebody in here. Let me know if somebody's in here. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm always trying to mess around with this audio to make sure it's a little clear. So I'm talking through the headphones right now. But just wanted to hop on real quick. I got to take the in-laws to the airport in a little bit, but I wanted to run some numbers. I'm taking a look at some properties. One specifically, this one. I've been tapping in with, or trying to at least, people who are kind of just starting out to see if there might be like a joint venture opportunity here, just to kind of add value to them however I can, let them know kind of where I think they should be in terms of an offer. So this woman had reached out. She was a little concerned, which is like a typical, beginner. And I don't want to make it. I don't want to sound too pretentious. Like I feel like I'm still a beginner myself, but I do know that I've done a handful of deals, so I am a couple steps ahead of people who haven't done any. But she has concerns about like a contract, what she should use for a contract. I never am gonna share, at least not right now, until I have an attorney of my own take a look at the contract that I use. Um, I'm never gonna really share a contract with them and say, "Hey, this is what I use. Use it." You just run into legal issues that way. So I just pointed her in the direction of some Facebook groups, which is really where I think. Well, I had gotten mine from a course I had bought into. But anyways, I was like, take a look at the Facebook groups, and then she had some concerns like, how do you estimate rehab? Which is funny. I was really having lengthy conversations with a few people yesterday about this. And before I even started talking to her about how I take a look at the numbers out in Houston, I asked, have you actually talked to the homeowner? Because that's something as well that a beginner gets tripped up on, right? They see an ugly house on the corner and they're like, oh, that's a deal right there. But they haven't even actually talked to the seller and know if they want to sell. Sorry, I know this light is probably bugging. So that's what I asked up front, right? Because a lot of times it doesn't matter if the property's in horrible condition. You'll get a hold of the seller and they'll be like, no, I don't want to sell. Sometimes they just don't need to. So I asked, and she said she found it on Redfin. So I'm assuming they are interested in selling. Haven't physically been to the property. I'm kind of teaching myself as I go, yada, yada, yada. I said, is it listed with an agent? She said, yeah. Should I try to get in contact with them? I said, yes. Are there pictures? What's the address? She gave me the address. And I said, okay, I just tread lightly. 99% of the time, if they're going to list it on market through an agent, they want retail value. So there has to be some level of motivation there, in order for them to sell at a discount. If not, like, we're just not in the business of making retail offers, right? So so I took a look at it. The property itself is like in pretty rough shape, but they only provided, you'll get the gist of it. I'm getting ready to send her a voice message. Okay, so I just took a look at it. A few things. One, it's been listed on market for a little over 3 months. So I don't know if there's a high level of motivation there from the seller. It seems like it is overpriced just based on the estimates. I haven't really taken a look at the comparable properties in the area, but just with the picture, because they only provided pictures of the exterior of the property. And if you look at the listing description, it mentions that there are tenants in place and the tenant's lease isn't up until like October or November. So, first and foremost, yes, if you are interested in pursuing this, I would get in contact with the realtor to see what's going on. Not even just about the condition of the property. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it's in poor condition if they don't have pictures of the interior, especially with how the exterior of the property looks. So I would get in contact with a realtor and find out the why. Why is he selling it? Why or she selling it? Why is the property owner selling the property in the first place? That's what's most important. Um, and then, if there's a real reason, if there's real motivation there, then you can start talking about the condition and starting to run the numbers and what have you. But first and foremost, before you start wasting a bunch of time crunching the numbers, figure out the situation. Maybe the tenants aren't paying. Maybe, they're problem tenants and that's why they're selling. So there's just a little bit more to uncover here. And that's what my recommendation would be before you start, like I said, crunching the numbers and spending a bunch of time, because you never know. Maybe the seller just put it up there and was feeling out the market, wanting to see what type of offers they've gotten. And that's why I mentioned the fact that it's been on market for 91 days. If it was priced appropriately and there was true motivation, it would have sold already. And that's not to say that 91 days is a long time, but with a property looking like this one, if again it was priced accordingly and appropriately, it would have already sold, in my opinion. So yes, I would get in contact with the agent, and I would do that on all of these before you start, spinning your wheels and running numbers and you know psyching yourself out about how much rehab is going to cost and all that other stuff. That's why my first question to you was, have you actually talked to the homeowner? You want to be sure that there is some level of motivation there. All right, so that's that. Now, another one I'm going to run the numbers on is a lead that we had come through. Now, this one is listed on market as well, but there sounds like there's some motivation because this gentleman who owns the property, he had just put in an offer on another, is what it sounds like. So my partner Jared actually is the one who another property, and he needs to get paid from the sale of this property in order to put down for like the down payment or whatever on the next one. And that typically happens. It's not uncommon, but more often than not, the homeowner, it's owner occupied, the property that they're selling. So in that case, we have to get something in place like a lease back to allow the property owner to get paid on the property and then have a couple of weeks in order to transition comfortably so that they can get paid, put money down for like a apartment deposit or whatever, whatever it may be, or a down payment on another house in this case. So they need that little transition period where they need the proceeds of the sale of this property to put forward towards another one. So that's kind of what's happening here, but it sounds like he's not actually living in the property, it's his family. So in an ideal situation, the property still does get delivered vacant if we were to close on this. So I'm gonna pull this one up and just take a look at, and this property is in very good condition. Um, so there's motivation here. Again, just speaking to that situation that I just reached out to that woman about, there is motivation. He needs to sell quick. So this is submitted through another like vendor that we're utilizing. So it's an inbound lead. They had submitted their information. So this is the information they submitted. It's owner, well, it says it's owner occupied, but it sounds like it's family. They want to sell ASAP. The reason is they're looking for a quick sale, excellent condition, which a lot of times they say excellent, but it's really not. But in this case, I would, and he's owned it for about 15 years. So I'm going to take a look at this one. I know you guys can't see, but I'm going to talk through it just so that you get an understanding of how I look at the numbers when I am comping these properties. Um, so I'll typically pull up Zillow just to get very quick understanding of what Zillow's Zestimate prices it at. You got to take that with a grain of salt. I'm just kind of curious um, to see. Sometimes it's accurate. In most cases, I find that the Zest in the Houston market is just below what ARV is, after repair value. So in this case, the Zestimate is like 370, and he has it listed at 375. And in the condition that it's in, it's not a full flip, but it's in very good condition. So I would probably say that it may be priced appropriately, maybe a bit high. Um, but the property was built in 2004, 2,500 square feet, four bed, four bath. It's only been on Zillow or sorry, it's only been listed for 12 days. And the agent that he is listing it through is his, I think he said stepbrother, or it's a family member. So he's saying pretty much like I can have him take it off market like today if we come to an agreement, right? And that was kind of like my concern. I just you never want to like circumvent the agent that's has it listed, right? I don't know what type of liability or legal issues you can put yourself in, but I know that in most cases, when the agent has the exclusive right to sell, it doesn't matter if the owner brings their own buyer, they're still paying the agent their commission. So, sometimes you'll hear homeowners say that, like, "Oh, I'll cancel it," or I'll, whatever the case may be, I'll just have them take it off. If in this case it's a little different because it's family, but in most cases the agent's going to come to get theirs. And in a lot of cases, I don't know the like, specific language, but in many cases they will still get paid even if they say cancel it, it gets canceled. If it gets sold within like a 3-month period or whatever they've agreed to after it gets canceled, the agent could still be entitled to commission. So just be careful with that, I would say. Um, and then I'm going to pull up Redfin. That's really where I'm comping these properties is Redfin. And then Texas is a non-disclosure state, so they're not gonna like on Redfin or Zillow. They're not gonna tell you exactly what the property sold for. They're gonna give you like uh, an estimate, or rather on Redfin, they're gonna tell you what it was listed at. And even if you pull it up on HAR, specific MLS dashboard portal, it's only going to give you a range. And in some cases, it's like a $50,000 range, right? It's going to say like sold between 200 and 250,000, and that doesn't do you any good. So just having MLS access, it'll tell you exactly what it sold for. So this one is listed at 375. Like I said, four bed, four bath, two car garage, 2-story on a 6,200 square foot lot. Now I'm going to poke around in Redfin to find some comparable properties, and then I'm going to pull those addresses and put them into HAR to verify what those exactly sold for to give us an understanding of what this one could sell for if it was in similar condition. In this case, it's already probably going to be in similar condition, but you know, when you think about comping these properties that are in really poor condition, that's the idea is we have a subject property that's two beds, two baths, 1,500 square feet, but it's in really rough shape. Well, I want to find a property that is two beds, two baths, 1,500 square feet, but it was just recently flipped. That way we know, okay, if we get this one to that condition, it can sell for what that one sold for, or similarly. Um, so I'm taking what I do is I put the zip code into Redfin, and then I try to create a little pocket so that you're not crossing any major roads. You're not, ideally these comps, these comparable properties are within the same subdivision, ideally. But sometimes it's like a subdivision will be cut like through the middle of a little pot. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense to stay within the subdivision. So, uh, beyond that, you just don't want to cross any like major roads, any bodies of water, any highways, any, you get the idea. You just want it to make sense. You don't want to go really any farther than like a half mile out, ideally a quarter mile. So I just need to get an idea of where this is sitting. All right. And I do apologize. I know I've been talking for a while about getting a new computer so that the streaming software would allow me to show you my computer, because I know it's probably annoying just to talk about it and not see me. So on Redfin, I'm going to change it to show me what has sold, and I'm going to have it show me what has sold in the last 3 months because the market has shifted significantly. So the comps that are 6 months old aren't really relevant anymore. Sold in the last 3 months. Just want to look at or yeah, houses. I think it's technically no. This is a single family. So I'm going to say, show me the houses, and then just some other criteria. So I won't filter it out by beds and baths, but I will try to keep it within like 10 to 20% of square footage. So this one's just over 2,500 square feet. I'm going to say, show me the ones with a minimum of 2,000 and a maximum of 3,000. And if there's still a lot of properties within there, then I'm going to narrow it down a little bit more, which there is a decent amount. So I'm going to bring it up to the minimum of 2,250, which gets rid of a good number of them. And then year built, right? Because you don't want to say in that example I gave where it's like a 2 bed, 2 bath versus a 2 bed, 2 bath that was just flipped. That flip, if that was built 30 years newer than our subject property, you're not really comparing apples to apples. So in this case, this property was built, what did I say, 2004. So it's a fairly new property, less than 20 years old. So I'm going to say, show me ones with minimum built 2000 just to see. Yeah, and that's perfect. So these ones are all still there. I have about 4 properties that are right in the same little pocket. And then you want to make sure these 2 stories. And what you can also do is use this little draw feature on Redfin just to draw boundaries of where you want the results to be from. So I have like 6 properties here. 4 of them are much closer than these other 3. I'd imagine these other 3 are in different subdivisions, but they don't really cross any major road. So first, I'm going to take a look at these other ones. So this one's 4 beds, 2.5 baths, 2,600 square feet. So ours has an extra 1.5 bath, but about 100 less square feet. So what I do is I'll typically take like 10 to 15,000 in either direction for bedroom or bathroom discrepancies. So in this case, let me find out first what this one actually sold for. So it was listed at 359, but I'm gonna pull this on HAR and see what it actually sold for. I'm gonna try to at least. So again, what I say, it was listed at pretty much 360, and it sold for. So it was listed at 359 and it sold for 361. So it actually did go over asking price, and this one sold about a month ago. So again, this one has 1.5 less bathrooms. So if this one sold for 361, I would say ours could sell for 375. Those discrepancies, because ours has an extra 1.5 baths. But this one's about 100 square feet extra, and I'm doing kind of something similar where I'm taking about a $10,000 for every 100 square feet of discrepancy within reason, right? Because you don't want to say like, again, you still want to be comparing apples to apples. So 100 square feet in each direction, square feet. So instead of ours being able to sell for 375, I think you drop it back down to like 365. And it has like 1,000 extra square feet on the lot. Nothing too significant, but something to consider. Maybe another 5, 10 grand. So maybe ours goes for 360. This one has a 2-car garage as well, so no discrepancies there. It's a 2-story. I want to see if this one has a pool, because that's something else to consider in the backyard. It does not. Ours does not either. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, at least. Let me look at the pictures one more time. So ours doesn't have a pool either. So this is a good comp. This is like a really good comp, actually. So I would say ours ARV is probably what this one sold for, about 360. So for now, that's what I'm calling ARV, but obviously, I'd like to get a couple of more properties to kind of solidify that opinion. And this one's fully flipped too. That one was fully done, uh, fully remodeled. Now this one, this other one looks like it's maybe had some work done to it, but it's kind of lived in. It kind of looks like ours, to be honest, where it's really nice, but you can tell it's like currently owner occupied. You know, all the furniture in there is kind of lived in, if you will. So that's just something to consider again. So it's not going to be ARV, it's going to be slightly less. So, and again, for those who don't know, ARV, after repair value. So this one sold for 353 again about a month ago. Same thing, one and a half less baths. This one's slightly smaller than the last. So it has about 75 extra square feet. If I'm being conservative, I'll just take off another 10 grand. So this one sold for 353. I'd say ours sells for 343. But plus that extra 15 for the extra one and a half baths that we have. So I'd say like 358. I'll just call it 355 to be conservative, which is what I would recommend you doing when running these numbers. You don't want to like say like you don't want to be overly optimistic about this stuff, especially if you're looking to assign the contract to an end buyer, because they're going to look at these things and they're going to pick the deal apart and beat you up on every little thing. Um, and they're going to be knocking off these 5, 10, $15,000 discounts, just like I kind of am. Now, this one sounds like it does have a pool. So this one does have a pool. It's damn near like not a comp anymore, to be honest. But if you wanted to, you could just say like you can probably knock off another 10, 20,000 off of the value because this one has a pool and ours doesn't. So maybe call ours 335. But again, this one is not fully remodeled. It's very nice condition, but it's lived in and pretty much like rent ready is what I would call this. It's like turnkey, rent ready, probably still selling for somewhere around retail. But if you wanted to, like, it wouldn't make sense to spend the amount of money that it would take to remodel this because it's very nice condition, but it's not going to sell for what a fully flipped property would sell for. So this one sells for like 335. Or granted, if ours was in the condition that this one is, which it pretty much is, ours would sell for like 335. So to put it into perspective, that first one was telling me that if you had a fully flipped property, it could sell for 360, but if it was kind of rent ready, it would sell for around 335. So hopefully this is like starting to kind of come full circle and make a little bit of sense. Now here is, I want to take a look at like one or two more. This one specifically because it's newer. This one also sold about a month ago. No bed or no bed. No pool. Listed at 375, which is why I want to take a look at it. I'm wanting to justify a higher value however I can, because the higher value is going to allow us to come in with a higher offer, which gives us a better chance of meeting the seller where he wants to be. So this one was listed. Here's another perfect example. This one was listed at 375 and it sold for 392 a month ago. So this one sold for 392. This one has just a half less bath. So, you know, ours maybe sells for 395 to be conservative, maybe 400, but again, just to be conservative, 395. Pretty significantly bigger lot. This one might be on a corner, to be honest. Yeah, corner lot. So this is something where you might not want to use it as a comp just because the lot sizes are fairly different. It's about 4,000 extra square feet on the lot. I don't really have a rule of thumb that I use, when I've been talking about these discrepancies. One, um, 20, 25 grand, maybe 25 grand off of that would put it at like 370. And then it has an extra like 350 square feet. So maybe taking another 35 off of that, calling it 300, 3.5. Now I just want to check, see if it has a pool. It does not. And now I just want to check to see the true condition of it to see if it's a flip or if it's kind of rent ready. So this is a brand new flip. And I could tell because the carpets are brand new. They're, diamond when they get the professional cleaners in there. The bathrooms are fully blown out with new countertops. You could tell the hardware is all brand new, new ceiling fans, new black hardware everywhere. So this is a flip. This was, I mean, and you can even just probably read the listing description um, to see, because they're going to be quick to brag about it if it was just fully blown out. It doesn't say anything about it, but regardless. So this one is newer too. I haven't been looking at the year built, which is my mistake. That's kind of the last thing that I want to take a look at. So this one is about 10 years newer. Nothing too crazy. I just want to, but I already, the reason I guess I haven't been looking at the year built is because I already uh, kind of listed those parameters within my search on Redfin. So it should be showing me properties that are close in year built anyways. So I think that one's, yeah, 335. So I would say, yeah, ARVs anywhere from 335 to 360, maybe taking the average, calling it 345 of what our property could sell for. Now, if this was a property that needed a lot of work, what I'm doing is I'm taking 75% of 345. This is just an example now because it's not the case, but this is what I would do if this property needed work done to it, which it really doesn't. But if it did, I would take 75% of ARV, which again is 345 based on my calculations, and that's giving me roughly 260. And now that 75%, that 25% discount is considering the agent commissions that our end buyer is going to have to pay once they flip the property. So just kind of paint a hypothetical situation. The buyer enters in, he buys the property, or she buys the property. They do the work to the property, and now their exit strategy is to resell it on the market. So when they go to resell it, they're going to have to pay 3% seller commission, 3% buyer commission. They're going to have to pay closing costs on that transaction. They will have to pay closing costs on this transaction in order to buy it. That's kind of the benefit that we are offering as a wholesaler to these sellers is we'll cover the closing costs and then we kind of pass that burden on to our end buyers. And then they're going to have to pay whatever fees, that's kind of on them. But more often than not, these buyers are using hard money or private money. So the interest on that is going to be much more significant. So by taking 25% and then also their profit, their buyer profit they're going to want to see on the back end. So again, 260, we're essentially saying $85,000 is going to cover all of that. The commissions, the fees, the closing costs and their profit. So again, this is kind of hypothetical, but anyways, 260 is what we would be at. And now I'm taking into consideration cost of repairs. Cost of repairs, let's say it was like a 2,500 square foot property. And I'm typically going anywhere between 20 to $40 per square foot. 20 bucks if it's just like real cosmetic carpet paint. 30 bucks if it's like needs some bathroom work done, some kitchen work done. 40 if it's like a full cosmetic rehab. Everything needs to be redone. Interior, exterior paint, kitchen redone, bathrooms redone, everything. And then tacking on like another 5 to 10 grand for each big ticket item. So if the roof needs to be replaced, tacking on another 10 grand. If the AC condenser needs to be replaced, tacking on another 5 to 10 grand. If the foundation needs repair, I'm for sure tacking on at least another 10 grand, maybe more depending on the extent of the damage to the foundation. Um, and then if it's like a hoarder house, or if it needs to be trashed out, if there's just like so much junk in the property, probably again another 5 to 10 grand, depending on the extent of the hoarding, because they're gonna again passing that burden along to the end buyer. They're gonna have to pay to even get the property in the state that it needs to be for them to start doing work. And then once you get that number, so let's just say in this case it was like 50 grand in repairs. Now we're at like 210. And then from there you just decide how much your fee is going to be. right? Let's say we want to make 20 grand. So then we just take 20 off that. And our offer to the seller is going to be 190, assume, and then we're kind of confident knowing that the buyer is going to come in at 210. And that's why I tend to lean on the side of being conservative, because you don't want to just be optimistic and be like, well, we could probably find a buyer at, 250. They're not going to spend that much in rehab. They're not going to, they probably have realtor relationships where they're not paying the full 3% commissions. It's probably true, but you don't want to, every time you do that, every little thing that you start, convincing yourself that, oh, the buyer's in a perfect situation. They don't have to do this. They don't have to do that. It's like, yeah, but they will use it as negotiation. When you're trying to assign your contract to them, they will say, well, I have to pay the 3% commission. I'm gonna have to repair that. It doesn't matter if they don't actually intend to do it. They will use it as a negotiation. So you might as well assume that when you're running your numbers and just be overly conservative, which is why even when you're taking into consideration your assignment fee, I like to take something a little bit more sizable so that you have that room, you have that margin, so that in this case, if we're offering one night, I may even come in and start by offering like 170, 175. And then if the seller is just dead set on, I need 190, it's like, okay, well, at least I know that that is my MAO, my maximum allowable offer that I have calculated. But you still want to try to get it under your MAO to the best of your ability. So in this case, though, ARV like 345. It's listed at 375. Let me see what is currently for sale in the area. So I'm going to look at the actives and the pendings. Here's one. Okay, that's actually our property because it's on market. This one's pending at 340. Two less baths, about same square footage. Like rent ready, a little bit poorer condition. It's pretty close, but a little bit poorer condition than ours. So I think that just again justifies, this one's listed at three or pending at 340. Ours probably goes for maybe 350. Oh no, this has two less baths, so maybe 360, which is the high end of that range that I had calculated. So I think that's appropriate. Here's one for sale at 338, but it's not, I don't want to look at that one. I'd rather just look at the pendings because it gives you a little bit better idea. So let's say ours goes for 345, like I said. This one is in turnkey condition. So the buyer, in all honesty, and I know I'm kind of contradicting myself because I just said you want to be conservative about this stuff and you don't want to kind of paint the picture for your buyer. In this case, I think it's appropriate just because I know. I mean, maybe you want to do some stuff to this, like paint the cabinets because they're kind of funky colors, or I mean, whatever you want to do to it, but it's not going to be too significant. But I will consider maybe like 20 grand and in repairs just to like allow them to do what they want to do. Like I said, paint the cabinets, maybe repaint the exterior or interior, change out some carpets, power wash the exterior of the house. But it doesn't really look like it needs any of that, to be quite honest. But I am still going to consider it. So off rip 345. The thing with this one is it's listed on market. So when we go to find a buyer, the buyer is going to see that it's listed on market at 345. Now, what is the value that we are adding as a wholesaler if we're just simply providing the buyer an opportunity to buy something at the same exact price, then they can buy it on market? Like, why would they buy this property through us for 345 if they can just like wait a couple more days for something else to go on market and then buy that one? You know, it's like there's no value that we are adding. The point of the the reason that wholesalers exist. I had given this to my example to my buddy yesterday. It's like Costco, right? And I'm sure if you are familiar with the wholesaling industry, you've heard this analogy. Like big box retailers, like you go to Costco and you buy them you buy the items at a discount because you know that, and obviously Costco is making money on that too. And that's just like the definition of a wholesaler, right? All real estate stuff aside, wholesaling is buying in bulk and then passing along the savings that you're getting by getting stuff at discount to your end buyer. I say that to say, if our end buyer can buy this at 345, they're gonna want like a 10% discount, right? So they're gonna want this at like 310. And then they're gonna, like I said, I think it's just appropriate to take a little bit of, I would say, I mean, again, I know I'm contradicting myself heavily, but I think I am being a little conservative with the 345 ARV. I think you maybe call it, I mean, even if it's just 350 and taking 10% off. Now we're at like 315, and then maybe them wanting to put 15, 20 grand into it. So let's just call it, one or sorry, 295, where they are going to offer 295. They'll come in with an offer. And I feel like that's a significant discount, so much so that it will be attractive to the end buyer. They're going to see that it was listed at 375 and now they can buy it at 295. That's significant and it's going to be attractive. And then now we just have to get our assignment here. So if we wanted to take 20, I'd say we'd come in at like 275. So he had talked to this gentleman earlier, my partner. He listed it at 375. He's getting ready to take it off market, and then he's willing to take 315. He seems like he's willing to take less, though, my partner said. So off rip, there it is. He's motivated. He needs to move fast, so he's motivated. He hasn't been on market that long. Probably wholesale if we get it at like 270. And this is funny. I'm glad. I don't know if you're in here, Jared, but I'm glad. Yeah, right. Shouldn't really need more than 1030K. Yeah. It's funny. I don't really like consider the stuff that you say. I when I'm running the numbers, and I'm glad that I don't, because I'm not like biased when I'm running the numbers, but we pretty much came to the same conclusion. If we got it at like 270 to 290, we should be able to find a buyer, slightly above that. So I think, yeah, we come in at pretty much what you're saying, at 270, and then maybe work upwards to like, what did I have MAO at? 275, but that's with a $20,000 assignment fee. So, maybe work upwards to 280, 285. I was thinking sell for 290, get it under that. Exactly. Bingo. Yeah. So I think that's solid on that one. I would Yeah, so let's get back a hold with him and communicate that to him. And I would just try to figure out a few more things. So he says the family's in the property. I would see, one, ensure that it can be delivered vacant. Two, his timeline that he's looking at to close, because it sounds like he's trying to move with speed here. So what does that mean to him? Is he talking a month, 2 months, a couple weeks? And if so, if he is, again, I would maybe even ask that question first, because if he's like, "Oh, I need to get it sold in 2 weeks," okay, well, is your family going to be able to get out in 2 weeks? Do they have a place to go? Um, and I know you know this stuff, Jared. I'm kind of just preaching to the choir here, but what else? I think that's pretty much it. Uh, closing, how quickly they want to close, and if it can be delivered vacant. I think that's like the two main things here. And if we were to come to an agreement, I think you kind of pretty much already asked it, but like, when they're going to take it off market, because I still don't feel comfortable sending through an offer until well, I guess we can send through an offer, but it's just a little bit of a gray area there. I would prefer to come to a verbal agreement and him be serious about moving forward, have them take it off market, and then we put something in writing, just so that we can show. Because I don't know his relationship with his stepbrother. Maybe I would talk to him a little bit more about that, so he doesn't. Well, he pretty much said, so the stepbrother is representing him on the buy side for his property, so he's getting paid either way, but still, essentially, he's giving up. If it were to have sold for what it listed for, he would be giving up like 11,000 bucks. So just want to make sure that he's comfortable with that and he's actually okay with it. Right? That would be a good deal for a buyer for sure. So I think that's solid on that one. I can't really think of anything else for that. And something else that you may consider if the numbers are like almost there, but you don't really know. Something else that you can look at is just like what stuff's renting for in the area. And then buyers are typically looking to stick to that 1% rule. So if they can if they can rent it for $2,000 a month, they're going to want to be all in on the property, both purchase price, rehab, all those fees and stuff that I'm talking about. They want to be all in at 1%, or granted, they want to rent it for 1% of their all in price. So they wouldn't want to be more than $200,000 all in if they can rent it for 2,000. Ideally, they'd be in less than 200. So in this case, I just simply looked at for rent in the area, and I'm poking around at the properties nearby. So here's a 5-bed, 3.5. What was ours? 4.4. This one's renting, or listed for rent rather, at 2650. So rent's pretty high right here in this area. Um, Here's another one, 2500. It doesn't. Uh, Again, these are all kind of like rent ready. They're not flips, so you could probably get top market if you did do a little bit of work. This one's listed at 2500 for 2.5. So I think ours probably lists for like 2600. Nothing's really renting for any higher than that. 2650 is the highest that I see in the area. Here's another 2650, 4.3, 2600, 5.3. So it probably rents for 26, 25, 26. Meaning that, yeah, they wouldn't want to be in more than 260, but that's if that's their exit strategy. That's more of like a backstop. If your cash offer doesn't work in terms of a flip, you can kind of look at it as a rental. But regardless, if somebody were to buy this, at, what did I say? If somebody were to buy this at 290, 300, let's just call it 300. If a buyer bought this at 300, put 15K in work, so now they're all in at 315 plus another like 10 grand for all the fees, commissions, and stuff like that. They're all in at like I'd call it like 320, just because you're considering closing costs. 320, and then you're able to sell it for, yeah, they would probably want it less than 300. They're probably going to want it at like 285. 285, put 15 in, 300 plus closing costs. They're at like 305, 310, and then be able to sell it for the 360 on the high end. And then taking that, I typically take it at 92% to consider the commissions and closing costs on the back end. And then they're looking at 331, which would give them like 25, right? Like $25,000 spread there just for simply buying the property and relisting it after they do a little bit of work to it. So that's a good spread there for a flip that probably wouldn't take any longer than a week or two if the buyer knows what they're doing. He wants it done less than a month, said 45 days would be too long. All right. Sounds good to me. And then, yeah, so I would just make sure that I would kind of just like, okay, so you, is your family, I just want to make sure that your family is not going to get kicked out on the street here. Are they gonna have a place to get to within that time period? That's the big thing here. If this was vacant, it'd be golden. No issue. Still not an issue, but just got to make sure, because now if we do have to do some type of post occupancy or a post sale possession here, then again, put yourself in your buyer's shoes. That's something that they have to consider. So if they have to wait another 30 days for the tenants or the family members or the owner themselves to get out of the property, that's another month that they're going to have to pay in hard money interest. That's another month that they're not going to be able to collect rent. That's another month that they have to wait to actually rehab the property. So it may not seem like it, but it is a financial burden to allow somebody to remain in the property. So you do need it at a deeper discount for that reason. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not just like you can't just like do this stuff out of the goodness of your heart. Like, yeah, yeah, sure, take another, and there's stuff that you can put into place, like not contingencies, but kind of like safeguards to say, yeah, we'll allow you 30% proceeds when we close. We're gonna with 20% to give you that incentive to get out, and then if you don't get out, we're keeping that 20% and we're gonna evict you, right? That's pretty much what that 20% holdback is for all of those financial burdens that I was just kind of mentioning, and then the cost to evict. And then you may even put something into place into that like post possession agreement of like a monthly or daily rent rate so that, yeah, you can take, we're going to keep 20% of the proceeds in escrow. If you want to take 30 days to move out, that's fine. But any day after the 30 days, we're charging you $100 rent daily. Right. And that's another just like kicking the butt for them to want to get out of the property as soon as possible. So that's just the big thing here is to make sure that it can be delivered vacant since the family members are in there. And you'd be surprised how the sellers are quick and want to sell, and they're just like, yeah, yeah, they'll get out. I mean, even the last deal that we did uh, with the family member in there seemed like it was smooth sailing. Didn't seem like it was going to be an issue. And then like as time passed, here comes another excuse, another excuse, another excuse. Well, I got to get my trailer fixed. I need a truck. I need a new truck to get out of town. I need money in my pocket. Again, there isn't a problem that can't be solved, but it has to be then priced accordingly. If I'm going to buy you a new truck for 2 grand, I'm going to need the property at another 5 grand discount. If I'm going to, you know, put some money in your pocket so that you can, be set up moving forward, I'm going to need the property at a deeper discount. So it's just good to like air all that stuff out beforehand so that you don't have to go back and renegotiate when this stuff comes up. And that's pretty much what happened. I think we had every right on that last deal to go back and try to renegotiate the price, but we had it at such a deep discount already that it didn't really matter. So in that case, we did, if you're just kind of tapping in for the first time, we did help the seller facilitate an eviction on her own nephew and her nephew's ex-wife that were it's not confirmed, but I would put a big bet on it that they were drug users, um, didn't have their own source of income. They were taking advantage of their aunt, and they been there over their head like 5 years ago. And then when it came time for her to try to fix her own financial problems, pay off her own debts, credit card debt, sell her property because she was looking to move on and into a new phase of her life. She figured that her nephew was going to follow suit and come along and move out of the property with her, but he didn't. So, again, I think we had every right to go back and try to renegotiate because we came out of pocket and paid for that eviction process for her. But we already had it at such a steep discount that it didn't really affect it. And luckily, it didn't have to go to the point of him actually getting physically removed from the property. He uh, he up and left like when we were 75% through the process. We had already been seen by a judge. The judge already ruled in favor of the seller and said, yeah, he needs to get out. And it was pretty much at the point where he had the option to appeal. And if he didn't, then he was going to get removed. And he just was like, okay. It was clear to me that he thought that we didn't mean business. He was talking all types of crazy to me, texting me, talking about you can't buy the property, you're gonna have to evict me, yada yada yada. And I called his bluff essentially. I was like, okay, we'll evict your ass then. And I just don't think that he thought we were actually gonna take it that far, and we did. And he, I think, realized and said, oh, okay, let me get out of here. And then he did. But anyways, just wanted to hop on here real quick. I gotta get going. Like I said, take the in-laws over to the airport. So wanted to hop on here and just kind of talk out loud as I work through some of these numbers. Hopefully it was helpful to you. No, it was kind of a lengthy video just to comp a few properties, but I did speak in fairly, lengthy detail about these things. So hopefully it does help you out if you're just getting started. If you do, uh, you know, want to link up, I work the Houston, Texas market. I would work it virtually California myself, but I work the Houston, Texas market virtually. So if you're in Houston, or you work the Houston market virtually like myself from anywhere else and you want to make something happen, check out the links in the description. I think I have my Instagram down there, which is probably going to be the best way to get a hold of me. And I have a Discord link down there as well. You can hop in the Discord. We're not very active in there anymore, only because I haven't really been hopping on YouTube like that. But uh, please do reach out through Instagram, and we can see if we can make something happen. Especially if you have trouble running numbers or just getting started in the wholesaling industry. Hopefully, I can provide a little bit of guidance to you, so uh, as to point you in the right direction. But appreciate you guys. If you made it this far through the video, please do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button. I'm going to make an effort to hop on here a little bit more frequently just to kind of document the process that I do on a daily basis. I was very active at one point, but I kind of scaled back because I found that it was taking away from me actually putting in the work. Kind of like right now, I'm just talking to the computer. I could be cold calling or whatever, but anyways, I appreciate you guys and look forward to connecting with you guys on the next one. Till then, peace.